Hi, good evening, welcome back. It's the Student StarCraft AI tournament, once again taking the mic from Shongo, and well, I was fed a couple of replays from Steamhammer from Basel, so well, that was good to have, really, and let's see how things are going to turn out. And we've got a gas steal going on, and TSMoo random rolling as Protoss, as you've probably seen by now, immediately takes care of it by means of a probe, which I do not think is really attacking. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yes, and the Zealot, of course, as well. Not cancelled, so just a drone wasted. That will delay the strategy. Oh, here comes the next one. Oh no, that's a probe, sorry, I'm blind. And TSMoo going for the double Zealot 2-gate kind of thing with a cyber core, and this must be another pylon, judging by the size of it. Cannot be any other thing. So 2 gates, 2 zealots, and now probably a couple of goons. Might just as well, because there are 8 lings heading for the natural choke, passing it, and now going to, oh dear, they're just going to camp the ramp for a little while. But with 3 zealots, I think that's going to be, oh wow, that's a lot of Sunkens. And then again, if as a Zerg player you let that Zealot thing get out of hand with 2 gates, you will need an unholy lot of Zerglings to help and stop the Zealots, but you can see both players not really wanting to fight just yet, just posturing a little bit. And of course Zerg, what's Zerg doing? That's always the question. That is going to be a lair, I think. And now the Protoss is rocking up to the Zerg base, not taking a natural yet, but although what's this probe going to do? No, it's just a worker balancing by TSMoo. And oh dear, poor Zergling got caught out of position. And now it's 3 Sunkens and a lot of Zerglings. We've got a lair, and then we haven't got really much else, so that's interesting to see. And oh dear, supply blocked at this point. That's not good at all, and now not even building anything. So here comes the Spire and another drone. Steamhammer could really do with another hatch, because there just aren't enough larvae at this point. More Sunkens, it looks like, are going to be built, and that I think is a good decision, because that Protoss pressure is really getting in your mouth. Oh dear, here comes a DT. I think there is going to be a couple of Overlords over here, so that might not just be the wisest decision, but the question is, what is it going to be? The larvae count is really low, it's just 2, and although the Spire will finish in a minute, you can only build 3 or 4 Mutas at once, and ideally you would like to have built 6 just to get that initial clump out of the way. And by now there are 4 Dragoons already. Have they got range? No, they haven't. Overlord speed and Link speed are there. I don't know if that's the wisest choice. Here come the Mutas. They're not really going to do anything. Muta count, let's keep an eye on that. Muta count is rising, and Mutas are now hovering over here as well. And the Protoss really... the initial ploy failed, so let's take a 3rd base. And now the goons are gone, so these 2 Mutas are having a little bit of fun with the infantry. And oh dear, this is not good at all. You can see lots of hit points lost by the Mutas. And now 5 Mutas in the mineral lines going for the probes and for the goons. Not really, oh dear, TSMoo losing a lot of probes. 5 Mutas unhindered in your mineral line. Cannot be good at all. 3rd base nearly done for Zerg as well. Protoss 3rd is there as well, but I think that TSMoo had better take concerted action against these Mutas, because they're going to be quite a lot. Here come 2 squadrons hitting the natural again. The goons do not really wish to fight, but what chance have they got? There are no cannons, and perhaps this is the wise choice, but what's TSMoo going to do? Appears to be going for range and building a lot of goons, while, did you see it, there is a lurker switch in the offing, so build order-wise, that's absolutely brilliant. The 3rd base with a forge could have been reinforced with a couple of cannons. The Nexus just lives. How many? We've got 11 Mutas, some are chasing infantry over here. The Dark Templar are still in the way. The Mutas are being kept back, not in their full force. And here comes the first lurker, and that's morphed in a rather suspicious place. So I think that TSMoo will see that and will be prepared. The question though is, will it have the money to stop it? Because there is a lot of Muta pressure going on. And you can see the lurker burrowing. Oh dear, 1 Muta got killed. 1 lurker does not a flawless victory make, but can do a lot of damage and can also keep a lot of goons on their toes, but right now Steamhammer is not really doing all the damage it needs to do, and the Lurker micro is not very good, so Lurkers get killed even without detection on the part of TSMoo. Now the Muta Cloud has sort of arrived. They did tear down the Nexus, and still a lot of ground forces taking damage from the Lurkers. TSMoo under a lot of pressure, and I can only hope that this is going to be a robo bay, and then perhaps we'll get a thingy, an observatory. Now the Dark Templars still are doing damage in the middle of the map. I think that's good. The Overlords with speed are on top, but are not as dedicated to following the Dark Templars as they could have been. The Mutas, though, are cleaning out the natural once again. Their count was 11, and TSMoo with the Lurker production is getting better and better. There is a forge now. Got 2 cannons over here, 1 over there, and a couple in the natural as well, which will also help against the Muta. So I think that TSMoo is getting better and better, and now it's just either going to be about out-microing the Lurkers, and the Lurker micro really is not good. It's just... yes, the Dark Templar takes one. This one will probably... And TSMoo is getting better and better, taking more of the middle of the map, but still with that Lurker micro could really have been better. This Lurker is so... the grouping by Steamhammer could be better, and now TSMoo is doing increasingly well. Steamhammer's got a tiny army, has got a lot of bases, so if for some reason this game will take a little bit longer to play out, TSMoo's army is getting bigger and bigger. If this army can be... Oh dear, this is so good with the Overlord, and the Dark Templar are taking too much liberties with these Lurkers when there are Overlords overhead, and now we've got some kind of a pincer move going on with Muta support. You can see the Muta count is decreased, and now, ooh, that's a nice Lurker leapfrog. A little bit of damage taken and dealt, but the Mutas can't do anything anymore, and now it's up to the Lurkers, but the Lurker micro is not good enough, and they are not being supported by any kind of other units. The worker count for Steamhammer, though, is going to get out of control, and let's see what kind of units are being built. Is going to be a Hydra switch, so now with the Observer overhead, a lot of Lurkers dying, but there are so many. You can see this army count of Steamhammers is now superseding that of TSMoo. TSMoo is having a devil of a job, and that mainly has got to do with the main being mined out, only having the 3rd operational, and only now the new bases are being populated. So TSMoo needs to stay in this game a little bit longer. The Observer needs to be over the battlefield, otherwise your goons are just going to be pushed in your natural, and that is not good at all. Here comes the Observer, and now the Lurkers will... Oh, that was rather sloppy. Then again, the Lurker micro could be a little bit better as well. There is a shuttle with something in it, don't know what. And now a handful of Zerglings is trying to take out bases. This one is up for grabs, this one is already fortified, and now it's up to TSMoo to get out of this mess, because there are now a lot of Hydras. Upgrade-wise, TSMoo doing okay, but the Hydras are quite good as well. It's just that they don't really want to fight at this point, and otherwise, we've got a Defiler, we've got Consume, we've got Lurkers. If the Hydras would just fight a little bit more, but you can see the power of the Goon, and that is something you will see from Locutus as well. And TSMoo with its incredible economy, and this is just plain wasteful by Steamhammer, but let's see what Steamhammer now can do with the... Oh dear, yeah, just die, that's good. It will have to fight pretty hard to get something done. And the army micro by Steamhammer late game does not yet impress me. I do not know if Steamhammer is holding back another upgrade for the later stages, for the CIG deadline, for AWIDE. I do not know. Now the Hydras are coming in with Lurker support, doing okay. The Goons, though, are dealing a lot of damage, and the Hydras just can't make up their mind, and they're taking so many casualties because of that. And now TSMoo has just salvaged this base in the nick of time. This base of Zerg is completely unprotected, and that is something that Zerg could do better in general. There are only Sunkens over here, but one base could greatly benefit from a Sunken and a Spore, just to help it out a little bit. And now it is going to be all over the place, because both players have got decent armies, but the army micro, the army control of Steamhammer, I fear, is just lacking at this point. TSMoo is coming in from all angles with Goons, with Reavers, and are dealing tons of damage. And the Observer coverage might be a little bit better, but Oh dear, oh dear, dear. This is just going to be bloody murder with the goons and the Reaver. And now TSMoo is going to do damage to bases. Steamhammer replying in turn, but its army supply is dwindling. Worker count, TSMoo is nearly doubling Steamhammer at this point. And we've got an Arbiter Tribunal as well. I don't know if Arbiters will be built in versus Zerg. Oh, and with High Templar, coming up. There are Ultras. And I do think they have got the both upgrades, but right now it's 50 versus 100 army supply, and it is a dying time for Zerg. Oh, and that Lurker Micro could be a little bit better. Two goons picking off a lot of workers. These two bases got wrecked by a small detail of goons and completely wiped out. Now it's over. So Steamhammer had the upper hand for a little bit, but large-scale army confrontations and Lurker Micro might be required to beat TSMoo Protoss. So next game up, it is Dragon versus Steamhammer, and Dragon, of course, is the Terran implementation of TSMoo, or rather, the Terran implementation of Cherry Pie by TSMoo. And if all those prepositions got in your way, it is going to be a pleasure to watch. So Steamhammer going for the quick expand, then a pool Dragon. Killing the scouting probe, and going to post one marine at the ramp. Quick factory coming up, or is that going to be, yeah, that's a factory, with a bunker just to be safe, and marines are going to stand right by it. This one has got some movement issues. I don't know if they're getting stuck on this, do that, but we're going to have to wait and find out. Vulture is leaving the base, no fancy upgrade yet. Ooh, and it's going to be... oh, that was a little bit loud. It's going to be Vultures versus Zerglings, and of course that can only go one way. Quick lair once again. Sunken placement could be a tad better. So let's see how this is going to go versus the Terran. There is a Hydra, but one Hydra on its own is rather weak. And this looks like it's going to be... surely not. So you're going Hydra first and then back into a Spire. That's kind of ballsy, but of course TSMoo will probably not think there was anything airy coming out. Going for a quick expansion though, worker counts practically even. Dragging a little bit behind, but now with two command centers is going to be in a better position. And the first tank is rolling up to the front. And now there are muters, so that just in the nick of time. These marines haven't got any medic support, so TSMoo probably has got wind of that, out seeing the Scourge, so is going to run like hell, and is going to be in for a bit of a hybrid play, and that's an interesting combination. But the muters now are all over this Terran Expeditionary Force, and although the Sunken probably will not die, oh dear, that's well done. So now TSMoo is going to have to be pretty careful to get its air defenses into shape. There is an eBay, and there are 1-2 turrets, not too many. Is there going to be another raid? No, but there are marines to be made. And you should just be careful not to get caught out of position on the ramp. The turret is taking a lot of fire, but with the repair I think that it can just be made to work. And you can see that the muters are over here and the infantry is dying over there. But the muters are getting stuff done. There is one turret. They are ignoring it though, so lots of damage to the muters, but lots of damage dealt to TSMoo, I mean Dragon as well. So for now, the third is sort of there for Dragon, and another barracks coming up. Money-wise, it's okay. Worker-wise, Dragon's hanging in there. A couple of more turrets could be nice, because these muters meet incursions. There are 5 muters now. I don't know where they are. Are they going to join up with... I don't know where they are. Are they all there? I don't know. 4 muters probably might be all here. There are not too many. And now with the Stim and the medics, TSMoo's or Dragons, Marines are getting some back. But Muterling is pretty good, even versus medium numbers of Stim Marine with medic support. And this Overlord has to be really pretty careful, but... and Steamhammer just can't really decide when it's going to pick a fight, and when it does, it will win, but it's so hesitant to fight. It's pretty much like the Dutch army, although from the Dutch army I can't really remember when they won their last battle. I was going to make a pun on the French, but then again, as coming from the Netherlands, that wasn't really fair, so we just made the point of our army not being up to scratch. Then again, with science vessels and Stin Marines, our army could do a little bit better too, I believe, but you haven't got these luxuries. Third base up for both players, and Steamhammer has got a really suspect army composition, is going for ultras and defilers and a lot of drones and some zerglings. Can't really make up its mind and is taking an incredible amount of damage by grouping all the... Okay, that was stupid. And very expensive as well. Well, you learn. Lurker's going to be morphed in the middle of Death's way. And Death is coming after these poor zerglings. Now we've got Defiler, which might cast a swarm, but then again it might just die. That's more convenient, or at least easier. And TSMoo is going to take a lot of forces onto the field. It's now 40 versus 10 army supply, and although there are some Sunkens over here, the composition of Steamhammer's army... Oh, this tank is going to be all for it. Yes, there you go, and they can also overrun these 3 Marines. Yeah, that's... and they turn back. And that's where Steamhammer can get something more done. Oh, this Marine is having the time of his life, just firing on poor helpless drones. Lots of bases for Steamhammer, so macro-wise, okay. What the Scourge are going to do, God knows. Oh, there is a science vessel, but it's really rather far in the back. And you've got all kinds of technology going on, and that's just that's a serious amount of production for Zerg. But you've... that's quite a lot. Now the Lurker is doing a lot of damage, but the fighting forces are also mixed up and bungled, and this is just painful. One Marine going to take down a lot of drones. Some Lings are sent to dispatch it, but it's a little bit late, and now Lurkers and Lings are hitting the battlefield, and TSMoo will need to have some better grouping as well. Oh, the Marine getting low, and yes, that's it. Ooh. I think that was really a little bit overdoing it by that science vessel irradiating one Ling. Oh, and now TSMoo overextended itself over here as well. The science vessels are getting a lot of damage done, and with these irradiates are killing so many Zerglings and some Lurkers as well. Now the Scourge are coming into play, and TSMoo is under a lot of pressure. The army sizes are about equal, worker sizes are about equal, but it's just... Oh, the ultras are there, and look at the production tab. It's going to be filled with, and the defilers don't even really work, but the ultras are doing so much damage. They have got the speed upgrade and the weapons upgrade, the armor upgrade, and +3 started as well, so TSMoo is under a lot of pressure, and now losing this base as well. Look at the speed at which these Zerglings chew through all these buildings, and this Wraith, well, here come the Scourge, but they get diverted. Can't really make up their mind, and the Wraith can sort of take shots at them, but the real problem is over here, the ground army of TSMoo. You might post them on the high ground with some tanks, but this is just not going to be enough, and now the Lurkers are there as well. The Scourge! One science vessel, and it's a deadly dance, but one tank doing blasting from the side, but this is pretty much over, and Steamhammer, after a bit of a shaky mid-game, got things well in control and is wiping the map with Dragon, and that's a sight that's not too common. Dragon is doing very well actually, so congratulations to Steamhammer, and let's hop into the next game. Oh, a Zerg versus Zerg. Very interesting. I got 4 Steamhammer games, and because Steamhammer is the father or the mother or the... well, really the parent of so many, don't want to be too specific about how these things come about, is really the parent of so many other bots, I decided to cast all 4 of them, and that's a big thanks to J. Scott, who made this bot and made it accessible to so many players to get into Brood War AI development running. And scouting drone falling. And that is, of course, very good. I've got some games from 2015 from not the top bots. It's not really 2014 from the bad bots. I couldn't find those. I have been going through my old backups just to see what was going on. Oh, that's a little bit loud. And now it's going to be a little bit of a tug of war, and for now Steamhammer seems to have it, but now is fleeing for Microwave Zerglings, and Microwave has got speed ready, but Steamhammer has not. So now it's all about grouping and about Micro, and let's see what both players are doing behind this. There are 2 hatcheries for Steamhammer, so with the drone count being 1 higher, I think that Steamhammer can, in the quick term, push out more lings, and it's now actually doing so. Microwave is doing an excellent contain though. Ooh, now speed's done for Steamhammer as well. Microwave will try to contain Steamhammer for a little bit to get the most out of its natural hatch, but then again you've got to sort of defend it, and now all the lings are coming home to roost, but I fear a lot of damage will be done to this hatch, and I think, knowing Steamhammer, that it will... Oh, pitched battle going on, but Steamhammer just doesn't have the guts to confront this lot of... well, Microwave with the rallies defends quite well. The hatch is there, but Steamhammer has got the worker lead now, and although it hasn't got the natural hatch, it will be able to defend its own 2 hatcheries in the main base a little bit more easily, and oh, this is so close. It's always Zerg versus Zerg. You know, last year when we had a Cherry Pie versus Killerbots final, that was a 4-3 for Cherry Pie in the end. That was so close, and I think that, well, we are still waiting for Crazy Terran to get back online to post some results, but for now it's all about Protoss. And if I may interrupt this a little bit, I'm going to show you the ELO. It is all about Protoss. It is still Locutus with 2,749. That is insane. More than 100 points behind that already ridiculous ELO is Purple Wave. Then Crazio, 132 points behind that. And then it's the first Ironbot, and then it's another 2 Protoss. We've got an update from Banana Brain. McRave is back into the game, and then it's basically the rest, with Steamhammer doing pretty okay. Halpan being, of course, based on Iron, so no surprises there. And then Purple Destiny, Proxy, Chimera, and the rest, and Killerbot still in there. That's so impressive. Cherry Pie, 2017, 2 years old now, almost, 1.5 years old, and Dragon. So it is just anyone's game, but I think to counter the Protoss dominance, a good Zerg might just be able to do it, because as a Zerg you've got more mobility, and oh, here come the Muters. Here comes one Muter, and it's going straight for the main base. It's not even going to bother killing the Zerglings, it's just going in the main base. Oh, but there is an Evo chamber, and I think this is not going to be worth it for this Muter to try and help and kill that. But Steamhammer is bringing all its Zerglings back to base, and Microwave has got a Spore as well. So that means it's going to be Muter, and although it is not as elegant or as frenetic, I could say, as a human's VVZ, the basic pattern is there, and I think that Steamhammer is now taking the better decision to kill the enemy Zerglings while sacrificing overall. But there are 2 Scourge coming in for the 1 Muter of Microwave. Microwave's only got 1 Muter. What's it doing? It's building infrastructure and defense, static defenses. And this is, I think, oh dear, oh dear, it's going to be a sunken, and now nearly all the lings are gone. So you can sort of see how that's going. The Muter sort of defends, but now gets set on by 3 Muters, and Microwave sneaking out drone. I think that is the good decision. Just try and take another base. Has got the money, hasn't got as many hatches because, well, there are 2 hatches here, 3 over there. And now Steamhammer is really on top of things. Upgrades, not really. Steamhammer's got some more. Is working on +2 ground armor. I do wonder if that's good, but the Muter count is going to be much more important. It's 7 for Microwave and 3 for Steamhammer. Microwave should get more stuff done, and although there are some Scourge, look at how easily, or apparently easily, those Muters of Microwave are dealing with the Scourge. And once you've got the Muter advantage, you've got to use that. You've got to kill the Scourge, and then kill the enemy. And Steamhammer has got a lot of Zerglings, but isn't really using them, and I think that 40 Zerglings could overrun this position in record speed, and that is all fine and dandy. Let's see, the battles over here. Now 12 versus 7. Mutas, and it's getting a little bit big because there is action going on over there, and the Mutas are now taking on this spore colony. Oh, and immediately a lot of Scourge pop, but the Muta numbers are just too great at this point, and the Zerglings of Steamhammer are not really getting into play, and another hidden expansion, this time by Steamhammer. Steamhammer losing a lot of workers. It's now 40 versus 15 workers, and I think that at this point that Microwave needs to consolidate a little bit, just work on its lead, and not lose so many Mutas to Scourge. Hello, that was the Scourge Micro by Steamhammer. It's quite good. Steamhammer trying to overrun this base over here, and I really wonder why these bots are so hesitant in just placing down one sunken. Worker-wise, Steamhammer is trying to catch up. It's still got the bigger army. This is going to be a Spore, I think, good. Because the Scourge are really a pain on Microwaves. Microwave, oh god, what did I do? That was stupid. Okay, sort of dropped my phone on that's Steamhammer versus Microwave. Dropped my phone on the keyboard, and of course it closed. Yes, yes, do fetch it. Let's see if the recording is still going. It closed the browser. Always like that. Let's get back into the game. No. Yes. Sorry, you have to go through all this. But the battle's now raging, and I think that Steamhammer has got the army advantage, but there is a lot of static defense from Microwave over here. So, there we go, we're back. And never ever pick up your phone during casting. Oh dear, what the hell is this? There are Devourers, but if you are over the enemy worker line, don't morph a Devourer, please. I can't really understand that logic. There was a hatch killed over there. Sorry I missed that. Worker-wise, Steamhammer still catching up. Microwave's doing okay, but there are a lot of workers over here stuck on those neutral stacked power generators. That's not good at all. And that will probably... Oh dear, that will not be beneficial at all. And although there is a worker lead for Microwave, seeing the situation over here, that might just be a worker disadvantage. And Steamhammer does need another base though. Might be running out of money. If we look at the production tabs, there is a lot coming from Steamhammer. I saw an Ultra Cavern, a Defiler Mount. Where's the Ultra Cavern? Devourers are all over it, but they're just head-butting into Scourge at the moment. That's not really working at all. But I do applaud Microwave for getting Devourers. That was a little bit of a large brigade kind of a thing. But the theme is, oh dear, Microwave losing a lot of workers. The static defenses are, yes, versus Mutas, that's okay, but... Oh, now it's a full Muta on... But they decide to run and now die. And that's never the good decision, because you're just wasting combat value. And Steamhammer has got the better micro at this point, must be said. When Microwave morphing Devourers at inopportune locations, that's not good at all. And I think that Steamhammer is pondering when to strike, but it's only three Sunkens, and there are some decent upgrades. And a couple of Guardians might be good as well, but I think that the natural will probably run out soon, and Steamhammer is left on the map to bustle in and has got a lot of workers. And Microwave has finally, still hasn't gotten unstuck on these power generators. That might be a nice touch, and Steamhammer
just can't make up its mind where it's going to. Oh, has hit here now. The Zerglings overrun everything. That's a lot of Zerglings. 112 Zerglings. And even though with one Muta overhead it doesn't really matter at all in the grand scheme of things, and with Scourge taking care of that, it's going to be quite dear to look at that army. It's now a 90 versus 3 army supply, and this is going to be a hard-pitched battle because these defenses are kind of formidable, but it's just too many Zerglings. Oh, and we've got a swarm as well, so yeah, that's a good game. Steamhammer going for the win, and I did promise to cast the last game as well, if my dear computer will consent to load it. Actually, it's Purple Spirit versus Proxy, and it's not a Steamhammer game, so that's alright. Did I already have that? No, I had another game with Proxy, which might turn out well, because Proxy is not doing bad at all. And right now there are any number of players, if they can break the Goon paradigm by Locutus, I think they can have a swing at the title. Just so open, it's just waiting. The game's waiting for a revolution that deal with the impeccable Goon micro by Locutus. And of course there are some other things which must be commended about that bot, namely the building placement. The SimCity is incredible, and this might get sorted out a little bit better, just dealing with the neutral buildings. And because there are so many maps and neutral minerals as well with 0 in them, it just pays to have some code for that. And Purple Spirit with 2 bunkers in a specific location, which is not the most profitable at the moment, but might hold off 6 Zerglings, and the worker count for Proxy is good. Just no other way to say it, just good. Workers are still being built, and if you have got the enemy at a distance, and if you have got scouts over there, you might do perfectly fine without an army, or without a large army for the near future. And now Purple Spirit is going to make some more units and some technology as well, not taking things too hastily either, and the worker count for both players is still okay. I rather doubt the soundness of the decision to stand over here with a lot of Hydra Ling, because there are going to be Stimp Marines anytime soon, as you might have known. Oh, that's a nice pick-off, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. Third base is good, and it's just going to be... are we going to have lurkers? Yes, we are going to have lurkers, but the tanks might be done at about the same time, and I think that some tanks are going to be built just before that. So Purple Spirit is okay, just needs a little bit of room to breathe, and of course needs that critical upgrade, the siege mode. And then I think that Proxy will have to get the hell out of there, because Stimp Marines with medics and siege tanks, you just cannot contend with that as a Zerg. And this micro is pretty good, but Proxy is overcommitting a little bit and losing a lot of army, and then you have got a long way to go with Stimp Marines on your tail. And with siege tanks, 2 tanks now, the Marines are just doing it without medics at this point, and there are no lurkers yet. Where are the lurkers? There is one lurker being morphed somewhere. Oh, it's here. In the meanwhile, lots of Hydra Ling is dying out in the middle of the map. Ooh, but that's a lot of stimming going on, and without the medic cover, I think that Purple Spirit is taking some losses as well. Now the tanks are exposed, and you cannot really lose tanks like this. 1 tank dies, and you've got to keep your tank count up, and 2 tank... Oh, and... yeah, there's fire bats. Good luck with that. Lurkers are now coming, so another base for Proxy. Proxy is rolling. This lurker is in a bad location. It's probably going to die. Even if it pops, it will be surrounded by a lot of enemies pretty soon, and the fire bat just gets killed, and this is just not a position you are going to get into with a handful of Lings and a couple of lurkers. There is a comsat, there are turrets, just do not do it, but Proxy decides it's worth it for some reason, and although the army grouping could be a little bit better, and now this lurker is doing great. There is no scan available, whereas the other lurker is over there, so a lot of bio is dying, and that's good, because as a Zerg at this point you've got to keep the enemy army a little bit low whilst you expand, and the worker count for Proxy is 30, not the highest, but with 4 bases can produce a sizable number of fighters, and then should keep tabs on this kind of expansion shenanigans as well. Purple Spirit is holding beautifully though, with 2 tanks Not the best upgrades at this point, but with bio and tanks you can do quite a bit, but this kind of lone wolf actionary is not really going to bring you much, and it's just a lot of luck for Purple Spirit that Proxy hasn't really been scouting out expansion that actively. There is one Wraith coming in, and we'll find a lot of Overlords over here, and a lot of workers as well, and there is no anti-air whatsoever, so that's a bit of a goo-glue, but here comes one Hydra, and one Hydra will sort of be committed to the defense of the workers, and the Wraith micro is pretty abysmal and now will leave. The pressure is still on, but the tanks are doing a lot of damage, but are rather exposed, and the Zerglings should not bother about these medics, should be going after the tanks, because if you can keep the tank count down, as the Zerg player, you'll be in a good position. Now this Lurker is over here doing good. This one is a little bit too close, and I think the next volley... Oh, and there is a science vessel overhead as well, and the third is up and now populated as well. This base is okay. Work count for Proxy not the highest. Balancing workers with army is one of the hardest things to do, and I feel that Proxy is feeling the heat a little bit, is not really as good in its engagements anymore. There are no medics, so these links are pretty vulnerable, and you've got to keep the tank count down. But once oh, it will just not die. Oh, the tank just will not die. And it's so important as a Zerg to keep your enemy's army down, especially keep the tank count down, because if you get surrounded with a handful of tanks with bio support, the game is all but over. And right now, Proxy is just making a lot of Zerglings and going into a muta switch. Hello. That's pretty ballsy. But right now, it just hasn't got an army. And I fear that Purple Spirit is going to... Ooh, these links, they did that beautifully. Cleaning up a lot of tanks. And with 5.5 army supply, are completely routing the Terran army. That's incredible. And still, with only 1.5 army supply, for some reason, Purple Spirit cannot really break the defensive, but is now coming for blood. And as this base is completely undefended, I think that Proxy is going to be put on the back foot rather heavily. And although it has got an Ultra Cavern, it's not really the right time to be doing that kind of stuff. There are science vessels all over your base, and the Overlords are taking a lot of damage. And that is not good at all, and I fear that Purple Spirit is just going to outproduce Proxy, although this Ultra is doing pretty well. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, it's now irradiated and dead. And although Purple Spirit's army movement is not the best, and you can easily see both players getting a lot of damage from a player like Locutus or one of the other big Protoss, which are a little bit better in grouping their armies. Now the vessel count is growing, and I dare say that this is not the best position to take another base, but oh, look at that. Lots of production outside of the main. Not going to get cornered. And still this puny Zerg army, the Terran army is not that great either, but it's fighting very cost effectively. And as the vessel cloud is growing and growing, lots and lots of Ultras, but irradiated Ultras versus Stint Marines are even more effective at times. And the medic count really is something to think about. There are just no medics, and these Marines, they keep stinning. So that's a rather dangerous proposition for Terran at this moment. No Sunkens over here. Proxy could work on that. Well, we've got 2 Sunkens over there, but that's about it. And the Hydras are now chasing... Oh god, we've got a battlecruiser, so this game got officially off the rails. We have got Ultras and battlecruisers and stimming Marines without medics and a lot of science vessels. I think that's good for Terran. The vessel cloud is now about 7 strong, 2 battlecruisers already. Oh god, this is completely worse. From bad to worse, and this base, I don't know why it's so attractive. It's just not sound to take it, and this battlecruiser is being set on by a lot of angry Hydras. The Marines and the tank are doing their utmost to protect the battlecruiser. It just barely survives, and Proxy now is in a position where it's got a lot of workers all of a sudden, and is producing armies from all over the place. Should keep those science vessels from flying about and irradiating too much though, because that is just going to be painful and expensive. Ooh, a lot of them got damaged though. I'm so sorry that I didn't really see what damaged them. I think it was the Hydras, because there are a lot of Hydras. This is a base got raised, and now Proxy with 15 army supply and science vessels, oh god, just kill the irradiated Hydras or bury them. It's just not worth it. But the Hydras are doing a lot of damage. And of course there are battle cruisers all over the place. The tank and the battle cruiser and the marine lost, and now some more marines. They do clean up the Zerg somewhat. And now just kill it. It's just doing so much damage. 2 battle cruisers picking off a couple of hydras with a good R88 in the back. I think that Terran is holding on for dear life. The main though is mining out. Oh, and the natural's already gone as well. So it's just a 1 base situation versus the map. And the results are then it will only be a matter of time before as a Terran you will be running out of money. And although you have got 2 battle cruisers, it's just not going to be worth it. Proxy at 30 versus 25 army supply. And although Ultras are not really the most efficient battle cruiser killers, they do quite well against tanks, especially within their no firing range. And the Hydras mop it up. So Purple Spirit could do better with better grouping, but in the end it's just a macro of Proxy dealing with this exceptionally well, and that is the good game. Alright, so how often do you see battle cruisers versus ultras? Thank you very much both players for this beautiful game. And although there are some high-tech units fighting, it's just too much. And when your production tab looks like 20 hybrids and the enemy looks like 1 battle cruiser, 1 tank and 1 science vessel, it's a pretty cool matchup, but it's just not going to work, and Proxy could manage supply problems a little bit better, but oh, this is over. So going to call the GG. How will I do this? I will show you one game from mid 2015. It's Chris Ayers versus Voytek. Both bots have been deactivated, and last couple of weeks I have been talking about how Brute War AI has been progressing. And I'd really like to show you the first bots, their first moments, but it's just really hard to get the replays from that period. So this was a game. I've got 3 games in all, I think. Yeah, but they're a little bit later already. So I think I will cast one of them. Aside from this one, Voytek is a Protoss, which is, and this build order might look familiar. It's a very solid build order, just gate, cybercore, another gate, some pylons and a lot of probes. Probes hard-coded, stop at 15, and now once the first goon pops, it's just going to be all that. Now Voytek is one of the class that Michael Chitty no, it's not really the team, it's the Michael Chitty, the director of this student StarCraft AI tournament, had a class and taught Brute War AI in Prague, and then a lot of these bots were active for such a long time. I believe that Voytek has been deactivated over the years. It's still pretty good, but these bots just were not maintained, and it's well, we had so many bots, and the really damaged and broken ones, they got deactivated too, and you can see that these marines are just a move command, and Chris Ayers, which is a little bit newer, is just going to wipe it up. And there is not going to be a there is gas, but there is not going to be an academy. So build order wise, Voytek is not really doing as well as planned, and Chris is just mopping it up with the goons. Power to the goons, and there you go, lots of gateways, and that is the GG. So you used to see that a lot, hard-coded build orders with little flexibility and some glaring errors as just putting marines in move command. It was like that in the early days, so yeah, there you go. Okay, I'm going to cast this one. It's TSMoo Zerg versus Aurélien Le Mans, and he's from France, so let's see. And this is really something, because in 2015 TSMoo hit the scene with his Zerg, which swept away all the big Terrans, Crazio, Icebot, and TSMoo Zerg dealt with Ximp, which was quite a factor back then as well, quite efficiently. And then came Garmbot, which is something different entirely, and this is really before the big macro wave of Garm, and you can see here that Garm is going to take this base over here. The scout misses it completely, and there are 2 overlords coming in, and another drone is leaving the base, and not really the scout. And here come the scouting Zerglings, and they are doing a lot of damage. TSMoo going for a bit of a Zergling rush, and one sunken is of course not going to protect you from a lot of Zerglings. But that's about it. We've got one base operational over here and one over there, and this play of course is pretty powerful. And now TSMoo is heading back to base, coming in for another erasure of this base, not killing the buildings. And this combination is really what makes this game funny, because TSMoo is just going to sit in its base for reasons to do God knows what, and Garm is just going to populate the map with bases. And Garm is... oh god, TSMoo is going for Mutas. Garm is just making a lot of money, has got 2 bases in production right now. TSMoo is just plain out refusing to nail... oh, kill the base, just not touching buildings. Oh, this one has got a sliver of health taken out, and these units are just going back from base 1 to B, and killing all the units, and now they found this other one. And finally they will kill the hatch. And look at the overlords over here. Okay, so this was not as funny as I had hoped, but there you go. So running up to CIG, I've got what's this then? I've got a couple of games I wanted to show you. So Proxy first of all, and Madniks Terran, which got another update. And never underestimate a good Terran, because the Terran plays have been sort of figured out by Crazio and Iron, so those can be emulated, and from there it's just a small step to adding an improvement to make it really shine. So let's see how it's going to play out. This still works, so Proxy is going to take the Eternal Scout, just rolling around the base, just doing circles, getting informed about everything, and this is going to be a Proxy by Madniks. So Proxy, yeah, that's not the best position. Oh, it's not even a Proxy, it's a command center. What the hell? So without an army, I think this is going to be over pretty quickly. SCVs will sort of try to fight, but are not really the most beautiful gladiators, and there is only one barrack, so I really can't see this working. But there is a bunker now, and there is one marine, and the SCVs are coming back, and the Zergling counts are not increasing. The SCV micro from Madniks is god-awful, so... but now there are only 4 Zerglings left, so you could lift this command center, or do something with this marine, but for some reason there needs to be a command center over here, and then a moving of marines not even going to attack. And I cannot escape the impression that this is going to be rather costly for Madniks. This is going completely off the rails. Oh, sorry. And with 1 barracks, it's just going to be nigh impossible to stop Proxy, which has started its 4th base already. Worker count is 36 versus 25, and quickly rising. And I, for the love of God, can't imagine why you would take this middle base without having more than 1 barracks. Oh, there is a factory now, so that's good, and a couple of turrets, that's good as well. This command center is pretty badly damaged and might fall quite easily, but the bunker is still there, and the vulture just running. It's okay, like this Madniks is not going to be a contender, but perhaps this might be decoy. But here goes the command center, and you've got a lot of forces coming in. Oh, and a lurker as well. There is just nothing there. Madniks is attacking like a madman and not making any units, just 1 barracks, 1 factory. And there are now more lurkers than there are combat units on the side of Madniks, so this is not really working as well as planned for our noble Terran. And Proxy, well, didn't really get... oh, well, this is pretty brave. A nice outpost over there. Let's see if it will be found in the end. Proxy doesn't really have to break a sweat. Is mopping up the Terran. And what kind of upgrade is that? Siege mode. Yeah, that's surely going to do it. Proxy just going to be ruthless. And now I think that Proxy will have to find the enemy. And now all the units are just on a sort of a random move command. But it's going to take forever to find it, because you can't really look past here. And you will have to randomly move all the way over here. So let's see if that's going to happen. You can see the units buzzing about. Production tabs looking good, lots of Zerglings. So eventually someone might find this bunker, although I couldn't really have found a better place to hide it. Here's something, but the Zergling which was up the ramp just got moved down once again, and it's so very hard with random scouts to get this sorted. Oh, and perhaps now it might be done with an overlord. All the bases are taken now. There is a lot of money in the bank for Proxy. And yeah, lots and lots of bases. You can see the movement going completely crazy all over the map. Oh, and finally it was found, and that's the GG. Okay, so penultimate game of today. And really we have seen quite a bit of Locutus in not the last couple of weeks, but this year, and it's still so dominant. So although it doesn't really do to not show the game of the King on the Hill, but it's just much more interesting to look at a possible contender, and Proxy with a couple of tweaks might be in there because it's just so very, very, very ruthless. Cubot goes for the same, and now I've got a game of Simplicity, and Simplicity had, of course, this beautiful drop play with really large drops, which did a lot of damage. And the enemy is Cubot, so let's see how that's going to turn out in a standard ZVZ versus a not so good player. 2 Sunkens, that's really a lot. There are 6 Zerglings, so that's overdoing it just a tiny little bit. And a quick hatch with a Spire. So now Cubot will retire its Overlord because it knows exactly what's coming, and now is going for a Spire of its own. I can't see how far along they are. Cubot is a little bit behind because it's got a lair, but the Spire's still brewing. And no Evo chamber, no nothing. Just going to be, looks like, about Zerglings, and the Spire is really rather late, and we might have to deal with, or at least the Zerglings of Cubot will have to deal with enemy Mutas quite quickly. No upgrades and no Mutas. That's really strange. I cannot really imagine what the plan of Simplicity is at this point. Here come the Mutas, but that's so late that now, even though Cubot only started its fire a little bit later on, it's now about even, and it has got the natural, and Simplicity hasn't at this point. And so many links there are from Cubot that they can sort of kill all the ground forces, but then versus 3 Mutas you need a lot of links to just stay in the game. And especially versus Sunkens and Mutas. And now the Muta count is 5 to 2. The Zergling count for Cubot is nearly depleted, and I think that these Mutas might do better fighting over here than... where is that one going? This Overlord is not that important. Cubot is not supply blocked, and Simplicity is trying to do everything off one base. And that's just going for a Hydra switch. I think it's really rather suspect. The worker count for both players is equal, but there is that added expansion which is now completely torn apart by the Mutas. Still no Evo chamber, no spores here either. There are a lot of Mutas. They are not doing anything, so Simplicity having gone a little bit off the rails here as well. I think this is a staging area for damaged Mutas. Cubot is doing things brilliantly, just keeping the enemy in its base with, well, 5 Mutas basically. Can sort of get its worker count back online, but it's only 9, and Simplicity is just making more and more drones. But Simplicity with its army is not doing anything at all. That's really rather strange. And I can imagine Cubot, what a difficult name that's proven to be. Cubot is going to play for time, trying to make more workers, but Simplicity just has the better economy and now has got the expansion as well. And with the Hydras on the ground, I think they have got some... no, they have got speed, but that's about it. It's going to be pretty difficult, and no... oh, there is an Evo chamber, but there are just no spores in the natural yet. And Cubot has got its worker count back to 15, is now making Mutas. Muta count is about... no, it's not even, it's in the favor of Cubot actually, and if Cubot can't do something about the Mutas, for the time being it will have the mobility advantage, but this spore is beautifully placed, and I think that Cubot Cubot. My tongue is really breaking at that. Cubot. Cubot. It looks like it sounds like if I'm a drunk Russian. Okay, good. So there we go. Simplicity losing a handful of meters so versus Zergblade is something else entirely than placing beautiful drops at turtling Terrans, as can be demonstrated over here. Cubot is going for an increase in the worker count, but as the natural by Simplicity is up and running, and Simplicity has got some mutas, I think with the better upgrades, and oh, a ninja expansion over here, it's like a Spanish Inquisition expansion, and Cubot losing a lot of mutas fighting over the Sunken and the Spore. That's not good at all, and another drone will leave the base, scouting SCVs, just making sure if there isn't any mine or burrowed Zergling or anything like that. And now Simplicity is rolling. Cubot has got some workers back into the game, is going for a greater spire. That's a very suspect play, but in the end I think it's just going to be the macro of Simplicity that's going to seal the deal over here. Although its army micro is rather bollocks at this point, with an army composition consisting of a handful of Hydras, some Mutas and a lot of Zerglings actually, which are not doing anything. That's strange. And Cubot taking a lot of fire from the Sunken, that's strange as well. But some drones are being made over here, another base being taken, and Cubot is just being content with 18 workers, not really making anything else but mutas. But Simplicity will have to be rather careful, because if Cubot will get more and more mutas, and if it will start suiciding mutas over that Spore. But the upgrades, no, the Rentry up +1 for Simplicity. And now Simplicity is doing away with the mutas of Cubot as well. Cubot is going for Devourers, and as nice and cuddly as Devourers are, I just can't see them have a really great role in Zerg versus Zerg. And the more important thing is that it's going to be way out of control from here on, because Simplicity has got access to the entire map. There are units mining everywhere. This one is even defended with a Spore. Might just place Sunken there for good measure. And army supply wise, it's 35 versus 11. And now you've got a lot of Devourers, which are going to be damn all. And the enemy's got a handful of Zerglings, so that's going to be quite interesting. 9 workers dying, so 9 with 50 workers is not really a fun way to dance with the enemy. And it's just going to be a lot of units from here on into, I fear, the inevitable GG. So, last game of today. And that's something rather special. We got an update from Banana Brain. And no, not Banana, yeah, Banana Brain. And Banana Brain, of course, is a pretty good Protoss. It is, judging by the ELO ratings, not able to take on Locutus and the top Protoss, or the other top Protoss as of yet. But let's see how it's doing in a PvZ, just to get on that entire, well, how can a Zerg defeat a Protoss, and what does Banana Brain's update looks like, kind of a thing to conclude this broadcast. Of course, you still see my email address in the upper left. You can email me suggestions or any kind of nice games or silly games which you have seen over the week. Of course, next week Shanko will be in charge of the broadcast, so you can send him stuff as well. For now, I will focus on this last game. You see a lot of probes coming out of Banana Brain. Sort of SimCity is not really as sharp as that of Locutus, and might do, or should do, with another cannon, because one cannon is really, you could somehow, or you could really break that with one. Here comes another. Oh, and they are just running by, taking some damage. Worker defense is okay. 1-2 probes die, and I think that was worth it for Banana Brain not to overreact at that Zergling incursion. The Zerglings are going for the Nexus, and that's really a rather good decision, because they can't really do anything about the probes. If there is a worker defense script, they are not really going to make that happen. And you can do a lot of damage to the main Nexus. It's not defended, there is no Zealot. And right now Arakama has got its third base up already. And now the Zealot does away with the Zerglings, but that's a lot of damage done. And if you are going to go for another Zergling rush, oh hello, without speed, just for kicks and laughs. It would be good to damage the natural nexus tremendously, but with 2 zealots and 2 cannons, you are going to need rather a lot of zerglings to get stuff done over there. You can run in 1 zealot. No, is another zealot on the way? Yeah, must be. 2 zealots are on the way. So I think the Banana Brain for the time being is pretty safe, but a little bit damaged in the process as well. So we've got a StarCraft and might have some Corsairs. That's good. Arakama can defend pretty well against air and can sort of balance its forces based on the enemy which is coming at it. So let's see how that's going to turn out. The first Corsair is going straight for the enemy. Oh, and I missed the first one. This is the second one. And this would really rather be the point to click S on this. Or that. Creep colony to make it into a sunken colony. And now Arakama is a rather supply block, giving Banana Brain a lot of room to breathe, and it's already got quite a formidable army. Arakama's only got 2.5. And oh well, the Overlord is going to stay on top of the sunken. I think that's really rather good. Arak still that's just bollocks. You've got a Spore and 3 Corsairs in your base, and where are you going to go? Towards the Corsairs. So at that point, yeah, that's not going to work, is it? You got a DT coming up, and I fear that Banana Brain is not going to break a sweat. I am going to go for another game because I just do not like to end on a note like this. I am going to pay homage to Locutus and see what it's all about. Could this be good? I don't know. Another long game versus Zerg, so perhaps that's one of its weaknesses. So while this game is in the process, just walking by the Zerglings, pretty pro. And now this position is pretty good, so Arakama recuperated quite nicely, but still a couple of Corsairs over here being obnoxious, and the Hydras can't really... Well, they can't do too much about it, but Banana Brain is taking its sweet time in getting an army together. Oh, it's got 40 army supply, but it's just sitting in the base. And if you have got 4 bases and the enemy has got, is sort of pinned down by your Corsairs, it might not be a bad idea to move some troops over towards the enemy. Here they come. This Corsair is pinning down some Hydras, and now the Zealots are going to town on the Hydras, but there are a lot of Sankens doing a massive amount of damage, and if the Zealots are going after the workers... Oh, here comes the Templar. Let's look at it. Storm 1's perfectly dodged. 1 Templar killed. The other Templar can't make up its mind, is going to be killed as well. Bit of an expensive trick for Banana Brain, but still in the lead with, I believe, 5 bases versus the 3 of Arakama, and still the Corsairs are detaining massive numbers of Hydras. That's not good at all. You'd really ought to have some kind of a Spire with Scourge, that kind of a joke, to deal with these Corsairs. And now Banana Brain will have to fight in the fields and in the streets, and will never surrender, and all things like that. The Zealots, it looks like they've got +1. Yes, they have. No armor upgrade for Zerg, so these Zealots are really ripping through the Zerglings at record speed. And it's just this kind of static defense. If you had 1 or 2 Lurkers over here and some Scourge to deal with these 2 Corsairs, you'd have a really good defense, and it's really hard to break or to estimate for the enemy how strong it actually is and when to commit forces. It could really devolve into a big unit sink or a meat grinder situation where the enemy just keep feeding forces into it. That would have to be hard-coded, I fear. And the Corsairs are now doing their utmost. And look at that. Lots of production outside of the main. That's really good and beautiful to see. And Banana Brain is really rather rolling. And now with an Archon and a Reaver and an Observer, it's looking good for our Protoss, although Arakama can't really get these Corsairs out of its throat. Look at the Zealots go. Whoa, how many Zealots have we got? More coming up. We've got almost 40 Zealots. and with the stuff that's in production, that must be about 40 still. The Reavers, though, are doing a lot of damage to the static defenses. The Hydras are doing what they can. The Sunkens are blasting away record speed, but it's just not going to be enough. And Arakama is falling to Banana Rain. Banana Rain, I fear, has got some work to do before taking on the big guys. But this PvZ got concluded in a relatively not breaking a sweat kind of a fashion. So, GG, have we got time? And that's not really because I need time, but really rather because my hard disk is getting full. I upgraded my computer about 3 years ago, I believe, and 4 years ago, and I've really got a very small hard disk, so even though I'm trying to get my big stuff moved to an old backup hard disk, it really keeps filling up quicker and quicker as time moves on. So TSMoo versus Locutus. Locutus is the master of the ladder with an ELO, and I'm going to show you this once again because it's so absolutely gobsmacking. 2,750, and that's more than 100 points above the next, and 2,750 for an ELO rating is ridiculously high. So, Locutus going for a long game. We saw that earlier against TSMoo, which is, well, not the best anymore, but don't let it get away because it will damage your health pretty badly. Going for a lot of drones at the start of the game. Locutus, like Ximp, and this is interesting, this is a cannon on the high ground. That is a really nice trick. Or just might be luck because of the way this map's laid out, but I think that, like Ximp, the carrier bot, Locutus will have some vulnerabilities with this sitting back for way too long as an enemy, and you know what's coming. There are going to be goons, so you've got an awful long time to prepare against goons, and you might even... Well, what kind of unit will kill goons for Zerg? I think that you could get the Muta Zergling show on the road, because with the Mutas you could threaten the enemy in lots of places, and then you could switch to Lurkers, and then you could switch to Defilers quickly, because Defilers and Lurkers versus goons, all that's will be an interesting lot of blue soup. Now Locutus is already positioning its goons, and then going around the back as well. As a Zerg player, it will be alright. TSMoo's got something planned. It's going to be very hard to move out, and it's going to be hard for Locutus with a handful of units to break this sunken defense, especially with Mutas overhead. And TSMoo's Mutas are not flapping about, they are just stating their business, and their position are just going to be stoically defiant of the coming goon threat, and the goons are going to walk around a bit, and Locutus is going to take a quick third because it can't really get through here. A couple of on the high ground might be good as well over here. That might just be very dangerous, and TSMoo has got a lot of Mutas already waiting to pounce when the goons overcommit and their numbers get reduced somewhat. You can see Locutus is doing this beautifully. It's gauging the amount of Mutas and Sunkens and trying to get in, to get out, not to give the enemy too much ground. Here though come the Mutas, and they did misestimate their numbers, or the goon numbers, and they took a lot of damage. But this drone is an important drone because it is stuck. It cannot exit the base right now, and that will mean no third base for TSMoo, and a third base for Locutus already up. No worker transfer in progress, but will be done soon too. And now it's Mutaling, but you can see... Oh, I'm going to have to show you that again. TSMoo has got a lot of Mutas and has got a lot of hatcheries. Upgrade-wise, sorry, let's take stock. Upgrade-wise, we've got link speed versus range, and that's about it. Okay, so keep that in mind. The goons are going after... they're just veering back, soaking up a lot of hits, but also dealing a lot of damage to the Mutas. The Mutas can't really... They're not focused. They're not in a single control group like microing and one-shotting goons. That's not it. So the goons and the goons are taking a lot of fire from the Hydra Ling, Muta Ling, but all in all, they are still there. 4th base for Locutus coming up. No 3rd base for Zerg. And once the Protoss start doubling the number of bases you've got, although the worker numbers are similar, that's a nice round though. The Lings are coming into play. They could do with a couple of good upgrades. +1 for Protoss is brewing. And TSMoo's mutas are still of the old kind, but just flying about, harassing and not really in tight control group. But the Lings and mutas are doing a good number on the goons, although the goons are keeping their distance, microing excellently. TSMoo though is microing good on its own, and now the goons are in a bad position with Lings all over them. They do take their periods of rest to just fire a volley and try to cancel some of the important units, namely the mutas of TSMoo, and that is really beautiful. And now, although some goons are getting stuck, the number of Lings killed by the goons is substantial, and a lot of goons are being fed into the battle. And although I think this battle was a net loss for Locutus with the extra income it's got, overall it will be a win. And TSMoo snuck out a drone. But as you can see, Locutus is all over this, has got a lot of production, has got Templar, and I don't think it's going to be relying on that too much. The Lings are killing a lot, and you should have some kind of evaluation how well some units are doing, because if you are getting a lot of kills from Lings, and you might even set that off against the money invested, you might get some more purchase on it by just getting them the +1 or the +1 armor. And now we've got a Corsair, and most of the goons are dead, and TSMoo immediately is claiming a lot of bases. It's got so much energy and so many larvae, and another hatch in the main base. So TSMoo knows what's going on, and look at the army count, it's about even. The mutas are doing okay versus the Corsairs, and the Lings are really what are doing damage. And TSMoo now has got the high ground. There is an Archon coming up, so could really rather do with a kill on the Nexus, but the Lings are a little bit hesitant and they try to take up a nice concave. But if there are 2 Archons coming, it doesn't really matter if you've got a nice concave or no. You're just going to need to kill the Archon. And the Lings are actually doing that. The Lings are killing the Archon. Killed 1 Archon. There are goons over there. There is a Muta taking on the Archon as well. The Archon in a beautiful position is doing a lot of damage to the Lings, but there are so many Lings, and although now Locutus is trying to save the day with a lot of goons, the probes are coming in as well, but TSMoo seems to have things well under control and now is chasing out the Corsairs with the mutas as well. Never underestimate TSMoo, not even versus the number 1, which has a 300 or 400 point ELO lead on you. Look at these Zerglings go. They've got a beautiful position, and Locutus, although it's got an excellent economy, well, the main and the natural, the main is about to run out. The natural's still okay. The Lings in tight areas are doing beautifully. Have they got any upgrades? Yes, +1 is coming, +1 air weapons are coming. Not too many upgrades for Locutus, and Locutus, although I saw a Templar earlier, I don't see any Storm, so that might be a problem. 1 Muta versus 1 Archon is not really worth it, but this is what needs to be killed by TSMoo, and just set 2 or 3 Lings on it, try to kill it, and you can see the harassy style of the mutas even now is sort of working, and this base needs to be killed. That is really your first priority. And look at the Archon go. It has got the +1. It's getting +1 armor. That's not really the most important. And it looks like TSMoo is just playing with these goons. Let them up the ramp and then pin them back against the wall and try to kill him. But now the Lings are running. They haven't really got the firepower to stay in this game. They need the armor and they need the backup from the mutas. Where are the mutas? There is 1 muta coming up over here, but there are going to be the mutas need to fight. They do need to fight, and the goons, you need to keep pressure on them. And now the goons have got the high ground, but the mutas are all over it. And I think that once the Lings hit this base, look at the micro by TSMoo. It's falling apart a little bit, and the Lings, they will need to commit. They will need to take fights against Zealots with all of them, and they just see what's left over. And now the mutas and the Lings are killing goons in reliable numbers. The Lings, though, need better upgrades. The +1 of the Protoss is so strong. Look at these Zealots go. It's just a massacre, and there are no Sunkens over here. The mutas, they don't dare engage the goons. The goons are too powerful, and TSMoo is going to lose that base, and it's already behind. So Locutus playing this beautifully, and the Nexus is still alive, although TSMoo had control of this area for so long. The Nexus was left alive, and I think that's going to cost TSMoo in the end. But look at this amount of muta Ling coming across the map. There is a Corsair, there is an Archon, but Locutus, before this amount of army of the Zerg, it can only but run. And now with the Archon and a handful of goons in the rear and another Archon coming up, it's fighting off the enemy units. And this is so difficult, but TSMoo is over-focusing on the workers in the army and is letting Locutus run away with his base. The main is now mined out. Natural still going strong. It would be a 3-base situation against the map if only this base were dead. And a lot of units are being killed. But just set 2 or 3 lings on it and be done with it. But these goons, and especially the zealots and the archons, are doing away such numbers of lings. It's really impossible, and TSMoo is running out of steam as well. The main is getting low, the worker count is not as high as that of Locutus. And TSMoo really ought to take this base just to get some extra juice. And now Locutus has got a way superior army. TSMoo is left with nothing but 17. And there is a huge Protoss army coming up. Where is TSMoo's army coming to come from? What's it making? It's making a lot of mutas, not enough lings, and I fear if TSMoo is going to lose this base, it's going to be all over. And you can see Locutus going for the workers first. If there are combat units, go do the combat units first. TSMoo getting stuck, the mutas are not numerous enough to help. And that is not going to work at all. And now Locutus will probably kill this base, not taking any prisoners, or leave the extractor. That's not really the worst, but now it's a 3-base situation, which will soon be 2 versus the map. This base is still alive. The work count is double for Locutus. And although Locutus suffered a huge amount of pressure, TSMoo in the end just could not make it work. Not enough static defenses, and Locutus is now going to take it on 2 bases at a time. I think that this static defense position, oh look at the mutas. But the Archon is doing so much damage, the mutas are paying so much hit points to get one Archon to explode and losing another base in the process. That's just not good. This base was never taken. And now killing the extractor as well. This extractor is still alive, but it doesn't really matter anymore at this point. The Ursadon still fumbling around over here. TSMoo has got a bit of an army, 30 army supply in one location. It's doing okay, but it hasn't got the mobility, it hasn't got the income, and if you look at production tabs, that will be reflected. We've got Templar Corsairs coming up, one more Nexus, and even though we haven't got Storm, the Archons with the upgrades, they have got +1 armor, should better have the shields, but hey, you never know. And TSMoo is repelling the Protoss army one more time. It is losing some units, not too many actually, and the goons of the Locutus are taking a horrible pounding. Every once in a while a muta will fall from the sky, a couple of lings will bite in the dust, and that is what's unfair about this kind of situation. The Locutus has got the map. TSMoo has only got 1 base of, well, both bases are going to be mined out relatively quickly, and the Sunkens are going to fall. TSMoo doesn't dare engage the army anymore. It's 60 versus 20 army supply, and although some lings and muta are coming out to fight, the Sunkens are getting damaged, and it's just not going to be fair anymore. Locutus should at this point just be 1A, 2A, 3A and be done with it. That is really quite meticulous and has got 4, 5, 6 Corsairs, and that is really the end of the muta threat as we know it, because the Corsairs are just going to overrun everything. The ground army is going to overrun the base, and Locutus shows why you can't let up even for a single moment. If you think you've got it down, don't let it breathe even for 10 seconds, it will wipe your ass. So, congratulations to Locutus, and thank you for all the coders who have made these beautiful bots. And yeah, next week, as I said, Shankar will be back on. For now, I say thank you for watching, keep the games coming, have a good week, and goodbye.